5 on Your Side at 10 starts now.
Tropical Tuesday. The thick humidity lingers and the chances for scattered storms returning to the metro area. We're timing out the trends.
A school swap in the aftermath of the storm. The new plan for St. Louis students approved just hours ago. Our top story, bad data?
This will be one of the biggest development projects size-wise that's ever been in St. Charles.
The proposed project triggering environmental concerns.
Within the last 90 minutes, a heated debate wrapped up at the St. Charles City Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Good evening. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. 5 on Your Side's Andy Kroll was there for the back and forth over this highly contested yet potentially innovative development that could bring hundreds of jobs. Annie.
Mike and Kelly, it's a split win tonight. Just in the last 2 hours, we've heard that handling of hazardous materials here in St. Charles with that new data center, well, that was shot down by a single vote. Yet the site plan that's currently being proposed, that passed. And the mayor tells us it's going to be a data center that's the first of its kind in the St. Louis area.
But any business that comes in is going to ask for some. Any business that comes in.
Buy more water from the city.
Sir, if you keep outbursts like that, we're going to have you removed from this. This is a civil meeting.
Tension Monday night over a proposed new data center in St. Charles City on the already polluted site of the Elm Point groundwater well field. Council members questioning whether the current plan to contain hazardous waste could move forward along with the proposed site plan.
We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in investment for public infrastructure. It's in the millions and millions.
Mayor Dan Borgmeyer says it could put his city on the forefront of the artificial intelligence revolution.
They're basically supercomputer bases with tons of computers in them, a lot of computing capability. And I won't say it's like the space race, but it's kind of like that.
It would take 10 years to complete. The mayor says they're still in the investigative stage with developers who they can't name.
And it's a serious investment with 440 acres. It's land that probably has laid fallow for 50 years and will probably lay fallow for another 50 if we don't do something like this.
Tim Klein's family has owned a farm downstream of the proposed development since 1939.
I know that they get up there and their professionals get up there and lie to us and say, you know, this is all going to be protected. You know, they thought all them hazardous materials weren't going to get into Coal Creek either, and it did.
Klein says it feels like a small victory that the hazardous materials permit did not pass, but the site permit did move forward.
I'm worried that they're not going to worry about the little people, but I hope that they worry about the residents of St. Charles and our drinking water and our future for our kids.
And the mayor tells us he's hoping to have all of the permits figured out sometime in the next 60 days for what they're calling Project Cumulus. Meanwhile, residents tell me they'll keep showing up to meetings like this tonight as long as it takes to protect their homes, their children, and the wildlife. Reporting live in St. Charles, Annie Kroll, 5 on Your Side.
Now to our weather impact forecast. It was a muggy July night in St. Louis. Storms moved through our south earlier tonight. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is tracking the chances for more spot storms tomorrow.
Oh, they're there tomorrow, Mike, and this time it looks like they'll nudge a little farther to the north. Now, while Lambert didn't have any active weather today, there was active weather elsewhere, so still some flight delays and cancellations in spots because of that, as the whole system kind of gets backed up, especially when the East Coast does. But look at this. We are still in the upper 70s and low 80s in the metro area tonight. Many of us are feeling that. You walk outside, you can just feel the humidity. We've got the radar tuned up here, and a lot of this is ground clutter. There were a couple of little showers down here to the south. We'll take this off so that it's just what's left of the actual rain. If there's even a sprinkle that makes it to Maystown, we'd be surprised tonight. Today, the heavier rain was down to our south, about 3 inches there, southwest of Ironton. That's what's over St. Louis tomorrow, that warm, muggy air. So the chances are lifting farther to the north. Scattered downpours, maybe a brief gust of wind out of some of the storms, maybe just a few of them. But it's mainly after lunchtime. You won't have that problem tomorrow morning. But if it rained at your house today, well, there's a good chance you'll have some fog early tomorrow morning. The rest of us just mostly cloudy out the door and still muggy in the 70s. Mike?
Just hours ago, the St. Louis Public School Board approved a new relocation plan for schools impacted by the May 16th tornado.
Now, this first plan was met with backlash from the teachers, union, and parents. 5 News 5's Laura Barcheski has details on the changes. Laura.
Mike and Kelly, this is basically an entirely different plan, except for a couple of things that stayed the same. The school district says the teachers union has signed off on the new plan, and now all but one school board member has too. The American Federation of Teachers, Local 420, along with other unions that represent St. Louis Public School staff, sent a joint letter and protested last week over relocating students from schools affected by the tornado. They were concerned about student and staff safety if they combined certain students with others. The school board also couldn't reach an agreement on the plan and asked the district to work with the unions. In a special Zoom meeting Monday, Superintendent Dr. Millicent Borachade presented a new plan with some big changes. Fresh Start and Sumner students will now be going to Stevens. Yateman will be going to Blewett. Soldan will be going to Gateway STEM. Ashland will be going to Jefferson. Hickey will be going to Walbridge. Washington Montessori will be going to Ames, and Beaumont will be going to Clyde C. Miller. Dr. June Berry, principal of Gateway STEM High School, says they're excited to help support Soldan students.
We have been able to identify classrooms for the students for each of the teachers from Soldan High School to be able to have their own classroom, and making sure that these spaces are clean and making sure that they're prepared to welcome students within the building.
And while they were able to approve this new plan, there was still a lot of frustration.
I am just really disappointed in all the adults in this whole thing. We have all failed, and now parents, it's 5 weeks away from school and they don't know where their children are going to be. And I would be really mad if it were my school. And I hope that we can all work better.
Approximately 2,000 students have been displaced, and the district has to figure out how to get them to school.
We've been working really diligent for having social workers contacting families to make sure that their addresses have been updated in our focus system. And once they are and have been updated in our focus system, we on the transportation side will begin to develop routes.
The president of AFT Local 420 said in a statement, this collaboration is a testament to what we can achieve when we commit to finding a solution together. The conversations were direct, but at every step, we reaffirmed our commitment to working together to provide our students, teachers, and administrators with the safest possible educational and work environment.
Tonight, police are investigating a deadly house fire in South St. Louis as a potential double homicide. Firefighters pulled 2 women from a home on Kingsland Court this afternoon. Both were taken to the hospital where they died. The bomb and arson unit and homicide division called to figure out what caused the fire and whether a crime was committed.
That's the most important part right now, building that timeline. When did the victims die? How did they die? And then ultimately determine if a crime occurred, who's responsible.
Neighbors tell us the 2 women had lived in the home for more than 25 years.
A deadly fire tore through an assisted living facility in Massachusetts. At least 9 people were killed. Dozens more rushed to the hospital. Among the people trapped inside, senior citizens who rely on wheelchairs to get around and oxygen tanks to breathe. Some people stuck inside were seen hanging out of windows, desperately screaming for help. And tonight, growing questions about how the fire began and the living conditions at the facility where this all happened. Firefighters at the Grand Canyon are urgently working to control 2 intense wildfires. 50 to 80 structures have been lost, including the historic Grand Canyon Lodge. People have lost their homes there as well. About 10% of Canyon tourists travel to the North Rim, which is now shut down for the rest of the season.
Tonight, we know the name of the teen who was shot and killed while riding his bike in North St. Louis. 16-year-old Elijah Hughes was shot Friday morning near Lillian and Genevieve. According to his family, he was going to the store to get soda and chips before work. He ran for help, but only got a block before he collapsed in the street. St. Louis police are still looking for the gunman. If you have any information, you are asked to call Crime Stoppers 866-371-TIPS. You will remain anonymous. Tonight, a worker is recovering from serious injuries after falling 15 feet into a large sinkhole in North St. Louis. It happened this afternoon on North Broadway near Montgomery Street. Crews have been working in the area for the past week after a large section of road caved in.
Just hours ago, the city revealed a draft of St. Louis's first transportation and a mobility plan in more than 75 years. The plan is created from community input about how the future of transportation should look. The presentation outlined 3 main themes from the feedback: connectivity, maintenance, and most of all, safety. The city says they identified places where investments can be made.
And if we can make those investments over time, as the years go by, we'll see fewer people injured, fewer people killed while traveling in St. Louis.
There are 2 open houses scheduled this week. Wednesdays will be at the Piper Palm House, and Saturdays will be at the St. Alphonsus Church. The plan is close to being finalized and should be adopted this fall. Tonight, police are looking for the crooks caught on camera breaking into a car outside a Fenton home. You can take a look as a man tries to get into the car and eventually breaks a window. 3 others are standing by in a getaway car. 1 stood in the street with a gun. The owner was inside the house, oblivious to what was going on in her driveway. She says she is glad she didn't know, fearing the alternative.
I wouldn't have had no weapon with me, and I just kept seeing what could have played over. It could have been so much worse.
She warns others to take her advice not to confront anyone and to call police. It turns out the thieves got nothing from the car, but the window will cost hundreds to repair.
Six Flags is bringing back its chaperone policy. Starting Thursday, anyone 15 or younger will need an adult over 21 with them to enter the park. That adult must have a valid ID, remain at the park, and be reachable by phone at all times. A similar policy was enacted during last year's Fright Fest. All Six Flags locations are adopting the change. It comes 1 week after shots were fired in the parking lot of Six Flags Great America near Chicago.
A plane crash caught on camera, the inches it came from causing a bigger tragedy. Neighborhoods leveled, destroying generations of memories.
It's been in the family over 60 years.
Tonight, the push to save and rebuild homes rich in St. Louis and family history.
But we're going to lose a lot. Good neighbors.
It's air you can wear season, as it's hard to break the humidity this time of year. Why that steamy air could lead to a few downpours for some of us.
A doorbell camera captured the moment a small plane crashed into a tree in a South Florida neighborhood. Just seconds later, cell phone video shows neighbors rushing to the front yard of a home to help the 4 people on board. They all survived and were taken to the hospital with injuries. 2 of the passengers were 16 and 13. The NTSB is investigating.
More flash flooding concerns tonight in Texas. A flood watch has been issued for areas hit hard by the deadly flood of July 4th. The death toll from that event has risen to 132. More than 100 people remain missing tonight. 35 additional members from Missouri Task Force 1 are in Texas to help in rescue recovery operations. 50 members were deployed last week. When a tornado roared through St. Louis on May 16th, thousands of homes were damaged or destroyed.
Many of those homes were treasured by families for generations. And tonight, 5 on your side's Robert Townsend takes a closer look at where these families can turn to for help.
I was eating lunch in the kitchen and watching the news.
May 16th, that's when a startled Glazella McNair learned an EF3 tornado suddenly hit the St. Louis area.
They said it was about Forest Park, and next thing I know, my TV went out.
She quickly took cover in her basement. After the storm blew over, McNair stepped outside and couldn't believe her eyes.
There used to be at least 30 houses on this block. And when it's all over, we probably have 6.
Okay, there is things flying off over there.
150-mile-an-hour winds destroyed or damaged many North St. Louis homes families have lived in for decades.
A lot of them are going to be torn down.
The tornado ripped off part of the roof, smashed windows, and caused side damage to McNair's family home on Labadie Street. Her parents and grandparents once lived here. It's now home to McNair and her brother.
It's been in the family over 60 years. And we were all raised up here. We used to go down the street to the school when we were coming up, so.
Lots of memories.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm trying to keep it going. And it's a lot of work.
Expensive work, especially for families who either had limited insurance coverage or no insurance at all. City officials could not tell us exactly how many generational homes were impacted by the storm. They did say more than 2,000 residential and commercial properties sustained severe damage, and more than 1,500 buildings have moderate damage. So if you and your family still have lots of questions after losing your generational home during that tornado, listen up. FEMA officials especially want you to know they're here to help.
When you've had a house in your family for as long as some of these survivors, it's hard to know where to begin sometimes.
When you apply for assistance from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, remember FEMA will ask you for proof that you occupied your home on the May 16th disaster. Homeowners will need to provide several documents, including the original deed or deed of trust to the property, a mortgage statement, a property tax receipt, or property tax bill. Renters may provide utility bills, a written lease agreement, and rent receipts.
We can help people with money to help them make home repairs and to begin the rebuilding process. We can help people by providing money to pay for a temporary place to live while they're making repairs.
But we're gonna lose a lot. Good neighbors. I just feel for them.
Neighborhood's not the same.
But they're gonna have to start all over somewhere.
That from a tornado survivor determined to rebuild her family's treasured home.
It's very special. Oh yeah, it's gonna take a while.
One day at a time.
That's all we can do.
Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
There are several ways tornado survivors can apply for federal assistance. You just need to text the word FEMA to 314-425-5355 for all of the information.
And Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell's here with the weather impact forecast. A muggy night.
Very much so.
After a muggy day.
And it's been pretty thick out there all day long. You know, this heat and humidity, the heat's not a big deal. We were only 85 degrees for the high today in St. Louis. That's actually below average. We're at our hottest time. Average high is 90 for this time of year. So 85, think that's a walk in the park, but then you open the door and you actually go for a walk in the park and you're just dripping wet right away. The reason being is because that dew point temperature is so high. So the humidity levels are pretty high. Dew points are in the low to mid 70s around the area. That is definitely air you can wear. It really wears on you too if you're outside doing any kind of physical exertion. It also led to the showers and thunderstorms down to our south. Now, while they've mostly fallen apart, you can't completely rule out an isolated shower popping up overnight, but most of us are not going to see that. Most of us are getting through tomorrow morning without much going on. We'll say this, if you got rain today, especially south of St. Louis, southern portions of Illinois, over by Sparta, there was a couple of showers that were a little more intense. You have a better chance if skies do try to clear out of seeing some fog tomorrow morning. But we're not thinking there's going to be a whole lot of clearing and thus not a whole lot of fog. Tomorrow, it becomes partly cloudy in the morning. That heats us back into the mid 80s and then we're right back at it again. You have more scattered showers, more scattered thunderstorms, but this time we're seeing that focus a little farther north into the metro area and just north of St. Louis as well. This time and this go round included on that potential for some downpours for tomorrow. Now, we don't anticipate severe weather out of any of these thunderstorms, but having said that, one or two of them might produce some brief gusty breezes. That happens. But those downpours, 1 to 2 inches of rain, locally more, that's certainly a possibility. It's mainly after lunch. So your hour by hour forecast tomorrow, low chances for anything in the morning, but after lunchtime, we start to ramp those chances up. We're back into the mid 80s for highs. As we head towards Wednesday and Thursday, we're ahead of this cold front, which means we're heating up, low 90s. We'll have some showers around on Thursday and some thunder too. On Friday, most of that tends to push to the south, but notice that front stalling out, heading back to the north. What does that mean for us this weekend? We're going to sweat some more. Temperatures going back into the low and mid 90s, and then overnight lows will be creeping back closer to 80 degrees as we head towards the end of the weekend. So I guess we say enjoy these cooler temperatures, but it's just going to be as humid going into the weekend too. We'll still have dew points that are around 70. I know Frank just loves it when we talk about the dew point, but
yeah, you know, he does.
It's close to his golf score.
It's
74.
It's his favorite topic, the dew point.
Yeah.
And he's next. He's probably going to talk more about it in sports.
Yes, the Cards draft, dew point, Tony La Russa, dew point, the Home Run Derby, dew point, and a hit and run with broadcasting legend.
And join us as we celebrate Art Holiday, who's retiring from 5 on Your Side after 46 years. current and former colleagues will be at the Missouri History Museum tomorrow night for a lighthearted roast. Happy hour is at 5. The free program starts at 6:30.
The draft is over for the Cardinals. The takeaways? How about 20 of the 21 players selected were college kids? 12 of them were pitchers, and almost all of them were power arms. They went local in the 20th round by choosing Chase Heath from O'Fallon, Missouri, who played at Central Missouri State. Liam Doyle is the power pitcher. The 5th pick in the draft is all about strikeouts. 42% of the hitters who he faced, this Tennessee left-hander, they struck out. He touches 100 on the gun, and the New Hampshire native has a Chris Carpenter connection.
He was my summer ball coach for a little bit because I started playing travel ball with his son, Sam. At the time, I might have been even too young to even pick his brain or realize how much of a legend he is, but now you grow up the more and more, and just being from New Hampshire and obviously what he was able to do in pro ball and stuff like that, he's obviously a legend, and it'd be nice to be able to talk to him someday now seeing the position I'm in now, so it's pretty cool.
The home run derby was all about Cal Raleigh in Atlanta tonight. His father, Todd, was the pitcher. His 15-year-old brother, T, was the catcher. And the Seattle catcher went off. He wins the home run derby. He already has 38 homers and could end up with the most prolific offensive season ever for a catcher. Wednesday night at Stiefel, Tony La Russa is putting on a special event. Celebrate Cardinal championships, a lot of big stars on hand. The proceeds will benefit animal rescue groups. I asked Tony about the trade deadline drama we may soon have in our town.
Well, it's easy to explain, not so easy to understand, and if you're a fan, not great to accept. If you're in uniform, your job is to take whatever players are put in your roster and you coach them up, you play them up, and you compete with them. And if the situation is good, you can communicate about your opinions and what they need. But in the end, the roster is determined by the guys in charge, the general manager, all the assistant general managers, because they have the big picture.
On Mondays, we often play hit and run with a celebrity. And for over 4 decades, Bob Carpenter has called some of the biggest moments in baseball history. Let's play with a man from St. Louis. Who have you met in Washington that were surprised that knew your name?
George Bush.
Baseball hero growing up?
Stan Musial.
Best play-by-play broadcaster of all time?
Vin Scully. But Jack Buck's right there. And the other guy who's right there, I loved him, Ernie Hartwell.
If there wasn't a thing called broadcasting in this world, you would have done what with your life?
I was probably by now be managing the emos at Hampton and Clayton. I delivered pizzas there for 2 years in college, and I absolutely loved it.
The one thing you'll miss the most about not being in the booth?
Walking in there, preparing the scorebook, doing a really good game. I'm pretty sure that after 42 years in the big leagues, I'm still trying to pitch my first perfect game. There's always a little flub here and there. It's just walking into the booth, Frank, and putting on that headset and knowing that I'm working at the highest level in this country that any baseball announcer can.
True or false, your sister Judy, who was Walt's jockey's executive assistant.
8 general managers.
Yeah, 8 general managers.
52 years.
And you walked into her office because you heard about a potential trade. And she said, get out of here, you're the media now. She wouldn't even tell her brother. True or false?
And I said, I heard something on the radio. Anything going on? And without taking a breath, she looked at me and said, buzz off, bozo, you're media.
Finish this interview like you're signing off for the final time in D.C.
Thank you for letting me come into your home every night. I have taken that privilege very seriously, and I hope that I did a good job of telling you exactly what's going on the field, that we've entertained you on the way, and most of all, that I've made you feel good about being a fan of your ball club. And with that in mind, see you later.
His classic call, and he's retiring even though he is so sharp and can still do a great job, is he spent half of his life away from his wife. He says, I need to be with her, need to be with my kids in Tulsa and my grandkids.
Enjoy life.
Great on the air and a great guy off the air.
Yep. All right, thanks, Frank. Well, the secret's out at Starbucks, how you can win big bucks with your favorite flavor creation. Starbucks' secret menu is no longer a secret. The coffee chain is making it easier for rewards members to find new drink hacks on its app. There's also a contest where customers can submit their customized drink, and the winner will get $25,000.
Today marks exactly 3 years until the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. It'll be the third time LA will host the games, and we're only 207 days away until the Winter Olympics in Milan. They begin on February 6th, and of course you can watch the games right here on 5 on Your Side. 12 U.S. athletes and 2 teams were inducted into the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Hall of Fame this weekend. That includes Rittner grad Steve Cash. The sled hockey goalie won 3 gold medals for Team USA in the Paralympics. He was unable to make it for last night's ceremony. Other members of the 2025 class include Gabby Douglas, Allison Felix, Kerry Walsh Jennings, and Coach Mike Krzyzewski. And Scott has one final check of the weather.
You weren't going to say just Coach K. You wanted to get the whole thing.
Yeah, in case people don't know who Coach K is.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
But it's very difficult to say.
You pronounced it very nicely.
Yes, he did.
It's rolled right off the tongue.
Weather-wise, we are warm and muggy tomorrow. There will be some scattered showers and thunderstorms. While severe weather is not really on the table, per se, some of those storms will have downpours.
There you have it, 5 on Your Side at 10. We're always streaming on 5+.
Start your day with Today in St. Louis at 4 a.m.